fuck it. It's over. What if you only had 2 years to live? We've all heard the old adage asking what you would do if you knew when you were going to die. But what if you really did? No, I'm not dying. But in a roundabout sort of way, I kind of know how long I have left to live. Truly live, anyways. So let me catch you up. So on May 13th, I quit my job. And I spent the next couple weeks in Alaska kind of getting ready to go down and get the new sailboat. On May 26th, I finally flew out of Alaska and headed into San Diego. So I got to San Diego and it was pretty late at night. So I decided to stay at a hotel until the next morning when I crossed over the border. That next morning, I crossed over the border and jumped on a bus, headed down to Ensenada. I got into Ensenada, got to my boat, and woke up the next morning not feeling very well. By that afternoon, I was feeling even worse. So I finally busted down and broke out one of my home COVID test kits, and sure enough, positive. Go figure. Day one. After being down for a couple days, I was feeling a little bit better and started getting around the boat and trying to get as much done as possible since I only had a couple days left before I had to head out and back up into San Diego. While I was working on the boat, I had my cell phone in my pocket and I had stood up and the cell phone slipped out, bounced off the deck, off the dock, straight into the water. So I lost all my footage, all my pictures, all my contacts, everything. So a couple days later, I was heading back up into San Diego. So I got up into San Diego, got the boat docked, put an anchor on, got a new cell phone, and I went out to what's called the cruiser's anchorage. Dropped the anchor and started on my first project. For my first project, I decided I should put the water purifier in so I'd have plenty of water to drink. Right now I got 2 tanks of water. They carry like 240 gallons, I think, total between the two of them. However, they aren't really well filtered. I cleaned out the bottom of the sink so that I can actually crawl in here and start working on things, and already this project is going better than the last one. As you can see right here, there is access to everything underneath the floorboard, so that will actually be a pretty big help considering I have to dig down in there. So pretty straightforward so far. I got the purifier mounted and I got the pre-filter clamp mounted. And now it's a matter of cutting the hole through the countertop to mount the actual faucet. This is the part that I have the problems with because you only get to cut a hole once and you can't take it back. Well, I measured twice so I could cut once, and I am hoping that I measured right and my math was right. Alright, so I basically got to pull the wire from the engine room all the way underneath the salon area. And just like that, 7 feet of wire underneath the salon. Coming along pretty good. All right, here's the big test. Turning on the water pump after you get all the lines connected. Will it leak or will it not? Now for the true test as to whether this was all worth it. Looks pretty clean. Yeah, that's good. Despite the project being a success, while I was working, I discovered a much bigger problem. Termites. So knowing that it was going to cost a lot to get them professionally removed, I tried to do it myself. As you can see here, I pulled this strip off because right up here is where the bugs were crawling out of. So I had a little bit of indicators of activity with the termites back in the aft head. And I came back to spray in here, but I started knocking on some of the wood and found a hollow spot in the ceiling. I really can't get the ceiling out, but when I peel the back a little bit to try to spray underneath, this is what all came out. So that is a good indicator that right up in here, where the hollow spot is in the ceiling, is where a pretty big part of the nest is. So here I am in the engine room. I tried to figure out how they were getting from the head back here to the companionway kind of over this way. And I really couldn't figure it out unless they were going through the ceiling. So I took the ceiling out, and as you can see, the wires go through here, and this actually is where the companionway is, right in this area, and right up there is where they were coming out. I don't see anything as far as what could be nesting area, and then down here is styrofoam insulation. I don't see any damage to the wood or anything, but right up in there is what I'm gonna guess is how they are getting into the head, because that's going to be above the ceiling. All right, so I can't see in there. I'm trying to figure out a way to get up and climb up in there and be able to balance on the rocking boat. Obviously, I'm at anchor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the camera and the flashlight, and you will see what I see, because I'm going to try to use the camera to see what's going on up there. All right, I wasn't going to film this part because if I slip, fall, there's not a lot of room here. I'm not sure how sturdy this is, all that other jazz. But I figure, you know, if I do slip and fall, the police are going to need some sort of documentation as to what happened to me. Let's look down to all right, well, after 2 days of spraying, I finally hopefully got the termites, and failed. So I called the professionals for a quote. So I had my termite inspection today, and the problem is a lot worse than what I thought. Apparently there's termites from stem to stern in the boat, and the boat's going to have to get tented and gassed in order to deal with the problem. So the estimated cost for the extermination is $5,000, and that's just for the extermination. The problem with that is I'm also going to have to put the boat in a marina, if I can find a marina to put it in. And I'm going to also have to be off the boat for 3 days, which means I need a hotel. I called around and I got a couple of marinas that might let me do it if they had availability. And with the hotel, marina, and the cost of the gassing of the boat, it's going to be over $6,000. I really, at this point, don't know what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to have to deal with the termites. That's obvious. But I also found a lot of other problems that didn't come up on the survey that I'm going to have to deal with. And I'm already way over budget. So I went over everything that I found and kind of guesstimating the costs and estimating what needs to be done, adding into the termite removal and everything like that. I'm going to be way over budget. And when I say over budget, I mean like I'm going to be spending almost all of next year's budget. So there's that. Fuck it. It's over. I don't think I'm going to have enough money to sail around the world. Which brings me to the idea of only having 2 years to live. And when I say live, I mean truly live. I mean, yes, every day we get up, we go to work, and we call that living. But is that truly living? I think not. The average person spends 90,000 hours of their life at work. That's time away from your family, time away from your friends, and time away from pursuing your dreams. In the end, all you get is old. too old to enjoy the time that you have left. And in the meantime, you spent 90,000 hours making money for somebody else so that they could enjoy the free time that they deprived you of. So after paying off my debts and saving some money, which you can see how I did that in another video, I ended up quitting my job and started to pursue my dream of sailing the world, to enjoy the true freedom that only can be had when you shed those corporate bonds. So my original goal was to be able to save enough to sail the world for 5 years before I needed additional income. Unfortunately, prior to having to leave my job, I was only able to save up enough for 3 years plus the retrofit or refit of the boat. And that was before discovering the termites. In addition, I've also discovered a lot of other additional work that I didn't plan on that needs to get done. So, after recalculating my refit budget, I estimated how much I'm going to need, how much extra I'm going to need, and all of that. My best guesstimate is I'm going to be using all of next year's budget to finish getting the boat prepped. So with only 2 years left before I'm going to run out of money, I only really have 2 years to truly enjoy and truly live the life that I wanted to live. If you only had 2 years to live, what would you do? Well, if you want to know what I do, you'll have to stay tuned to find out.